Thank you, Ezra. So my name is Brian Hudson, and I'm here to talk to you about basically some tools and tips to simplify the preparation of PDBx mmCIF files for deposition, visualization, and more. So how do you want to use a PDBx mmCIF file? I think there are three general ways that people tend to use them. The first I call black box please, which is to treat the mmCIF file basically as a container. There's something in which you can move data from one application to another. You don't really care what it looks like inside, so long as it does the job that it's supposed to. The second level is about the same, but you also like to be able to edit some of the content. You do want to have some control over what's going on inside the file. And the third is I want to have as much control as possible, which is kind of what the rest of this course is all about, what Ezra's just been talking to you about, and what Irina and Chengma are going to talk about here soon, which is for people who want to roll up their sleeves and get into the guts of the mmCIF file and move the furniture around, so to speak. What I'm going to be talking about here is mostly the first 2 points. For people who don't necessarily or people who are in situations where you don't want to manipulate the contents of the mmCIF file manually, and you want to make some changes safely. So, first of all, I'm going to be talking in my talk mainly about PDBx mmCIF files in the context of atomic coordinate files. And the most important things that you tend to do with atomic coordinate files are produce them in one application or another and visualize them, because that's how we learn about what's going on in the coordinate files. And I'll go ahead and start here by just giving you what is essentially a partial list of major visualization programs that in fact read PDBx mmCIF file and have read these files for quite a long time. So if you've produced a PDBx mmCIF formatted atomic coordinate file, you will be able to find a place to visualize it. Secondly, the creation of PDBx mmCIF formatted files. The major X-ray refinement software packages all will produce mmCIF output. Phoenix and Buster by default, RefMac if you specify. There are various visualization programs that, in addition to taking PDBx mmCIF formatted files as input, will also output PDBx mmCIF files if you wish to. And then finally, there are the two programs that I'm going to be talking about primarily here in my talk, which are PDB Extract and the PDBj CIF editor. So what is PDB Extract? Well, PDB Extract is a data harvesting and integration tool that will parse data from multiple sources, specifically a coordinate file, data processing log files, and a template mmCIF file, and will merge all of these data into a more complete PDBx mmCIF output file that is suitable for deposition into the protein data bank. I've included the URL of the tool here on this page. Basically, what PDB Extract does is it takes a number of categories from either a PDB formatted file or a PDBx mmCIF formatted file. For a PDB file, there's a very particular categories that it will populate and it will actually ignore all the rest of the content of the PDB file. For a PDBx mmCIF formatted file, PDB Extract will actually take everything that it can from it, and it will combine content from these multiple sources into a PDBx mmCIF file, and it will do so on a category by category basis. And this is an important point to make about PDB Extract. Ezra introduced the sort of the nuts and bolts of the mmCIF format and how data are in categories, and PDB Extract will populate these categories, but it will only populate a particular category from a single source. So it will not mix content from multiple sources into a single category. And it has a way that it prioritizes this content. And that is shown here. The highest priority content are the contents of the provided atomic coordinate file. As I said, either it can be in either PDB, the legacy PDB format, or in PDBx mmCIF format. You can also provide for X-ray, for diffraction entries, you can also provide reflection data files, and you can integrate, basically take all of those data files and integrate them into a single PDBx mmCIF formatted structure factor file. Actually, as a side note, this is a way that if you have multiple data sets, but you can only provide a single structure factor file, you can take those multiple data sets and combine them together into one structure factor file. But the PDB extract will prioritize that information, and then it will add in additional information that is collected within the PDBx, the PDB extract interface, namely polymer sequences for various polymers within the coordinate file, and processing log files for diffraction entries from data collection and such. And then it will also take, and this is probably maybe the most important point I can make here, is it will also take the contents of a PDBx mmCIF formatted, what we call here the input template file. You do not have to provide this, but you can, and it's the way that you can get all sorts of other information into a PDBx mmCIF file. This can include things like contact author information, entry title, author list information, citation information, keywords, etc. Basically, anything that you can put into a PDBx mmCIF file can be included in this input template file and included in your output mmCIF file. And it will take all of these. It will any information that is present. Say, let's say you had you gave it a coordinate file, but you gave it also gave it an input template file that happened to have a set of coordinates in it. It would not use the coordinates from the template file, choosing instead to take the highest priority portion, which is the provided specified coordinate file. Let's see here. Oops, I'm going backwards. There we go. So this is the PDB extract page for the tool. Essentially, there's a lot of instructions here, and the place here where you can specify the experimental method that was used, the type of upload file, either PDB or PDBx mmCIF, and to provide the file itself. You press run, and you'll go to page 2. Up at the top of page 2, and this is also actually available on page 1, is the place where you can upload the input template file, the mmCIF formatted input template file of metadata that you would like to add to your PDBx mmCIF file. You can either provide it with a file, or there is also a link to the PDBj, the PDB Japan CIF editor, which I will be talking about a little bit later here. Also on page 2, in particular for diffraction entry cases of diffraction, you can provide all this various information of various structure factor files that you will provide to integrate into a larger structure factor file, and various log files from processing programs. And then finally, at the bottom of page 2 of the PDB extract tool is the place where you can enter in the sample sequence. It will actually extract a sequence from the atomic coordinates that you provided, but here you can actually provide the full sequence should the sequence that was in the file have gaps in it. So by taking all of these here, I'll go back for a second here. But basically, this is just a way of taking all this information and compiling it into a single file, and to build a PDBx mmCIF file that has as much content in it as is possible. And because you can use this, you could, if you were making, say, multiple PDB depositions and you wanted to use a lot of the same metadata, author information, title information, etc., across a number of different depositions, you could just prepare a single template file for use with multiple sets of coordinates. Feed them all into PDB Extract. So we also have here the PDBj CIF editor. This is PDB Japan. I've sort of inserted the PDBx portion of it here. It's a CIF editor. It's actually a general CIF editor. It's sort of CIF agnostic, as it were. It all depends upon the dictionary that you happen to be using. You can access the CIF editor two different ways, either via PDB Extract on pages 1 or 2, and also you can access the standalone editor at this address here. You can use the CIF editor to build a new PDBx mmCIF formatted files. You can edit existing PDBx mmCIF formatted files, and you can check a file content against a dictionary to see if it conforms properly. It allows you to manipulate the PDBx mmCIF files safely, and you can either prepare content either for use with PDB Extract, or you also have the option these days for EMDB depositions that do not include a set of coordinates, of providing a PDBx mmCIF file containing just metadata, so that information doesn't have to be input all manually in the deposition interface. So this is what the CIF editor looks like. There's a number of instructions on the page. The really important part is this little wagon wheel up here, icon up in the corner. That's where all of the action happens. Click on there, and it gives you the option to open an mmCIF file. Opening an mmCIF file, it will ask you for a dictionary. Now, if you're accessing it via PDB Extract, PDB Extract will automatically load in the PDBx mmCIF dictionary. If you're using it standalone, you'll have to choose a dictionary. It gives you several options to choose from, and you'll select a dictionary, and it will continue on. And it will show you the CIF content in the form of tables. When it first starts up, actually, what it will do is it will actually check the contents of the CIF file against the dictionary you provided, and let you know if there are any data values that are not conforming with the dictionary. So looking at these various tables, you can actually edit the contents of any of the cells in the tables. If you want to add a row to a table, you can just click on the name of the category, the name of the table, and you'll get options. The option to add a row. You want to delete a row, you simply click the X at the edge at the front of the row. If you go back up to the main menu and open it up, you'll get several different options available to you. One among these is an option called Toggle Tables. This is an option that brings up a list of the various categories that are available in the dictionary that you've loaded, along with a small description of them, allowing you to go and either deselect tables that are currently selected, or to select new tables to add to your PDBx mmCIF file. Going back to the main menu, you now have the option of either you can merge an additional mmCIF file, you can do the validation again. This is always recommended. Validate early and often. And you can also save the mmCIF file for use either in PDB Extract or in EMDB Deposition, or whatever other application you might have for the CIF file you're working with. So before I go, I just want to talk, we've been talking a lot about PDB, about deposition into the PDB. And I just kind of wanted to point out here, so to get a little deeper into the, open up the box a little bit more, what's the minimal, not going to say minimal, but what information is absolutely required in a PDBx mmCIF formatted atomic coordinate file that you're attempting to upload to the PDB via OneDep. And I just list out here, and I'm not going to go through them in great detail for each of the major experimental methods, the various categories that are required. Now, it's important to note that this is what's absolutely required in a file, but it's not, you're not limited to that. And OneDep will require a lot of additional metadata for complete deposition. And under normal circumstances, if all you've provided is just the information that I've shown here on the screen, you will have to enter all of this information, all of the additional information, mandatory information, manually. And our advice, our very strong advice, is to make use of tools like PDB Extract and the PDBj CIF editor to prepare more complete PDBx mmCIF formatted atomic coordinate files for deposition. It will mean that you don't have to enter quite as much information manually, and you will be able to reuse the information across multiple depositions if you are in fact making multiple depositions. So that is all I have to say at the moment here, and I wanted to ask if there are any questions.
Okay, we have a question. You said that the PDBj CIF editor can be used to prepare content for EMDB deposition. Can it be used to prepare content for PDB deposition also?
Yes. Insofar as you can, well, I mean, if you have a PDBx mmCIF file that you are considering depositing, just as is, and you want to make some edits to it, you can take it into the into the CIF editor and edit it there prior to deposition. The other way to use the CIF editor is to use it to build a small, basically a small metadata mmCIF PDBx mmCIF file that you can then add to your PDB coordinates using PDB Extract, and build a sort of a bigger PDBx mmCIF file that way. Essentially, the PDBx mmCIF metadata file that you can deposit for EMDB is essentially sort of a more complete PDBx mmCIF file without any coordinates in it. Essentially, what it is.
Okay, we have another question. It's about privacy concerns. They're saying, concerning all the PDB related web tools, who's able to see the structures that are uploaded there for editing and validation? We're an academic lab working in collaboration with industry, and especially in the pre-deposition stage, privacy is a big concern.
To the best of my knowledge, all of these tools are entirely private. They do not retain any of the information that is entered into them, and yes, all confidential.
Okay, we have another question about mmCIF. There's nothing in the mmCIF documentation about cutting and pasting between structures. Do you know for a fact that it works?
Cutting and pasting between structures. Cutting and pasting between structures, it works if you're careful. You saw the mmCIF data. You saw the mmCIF structure, sort of the structure of the mmCIF format that Ezra showed, and Chengwell will be showing you a lot more of this here when he gives his talk. Cutting and pasting between the structures, everything has to line up. So in other words, you have to all of the data items have to be as aligned with the correct data labels. If you've got that, it should work. But that's that's an if. So it's a very much on a case-by-case basis, I think, as to whether or not that will work.
Okay, I think it's time for our next speaker, Brian.
All right. So let's see here. So our next speaker is Dr. Irina Persakova, and she's going to talk about part 1 of programmatic file access and data parsing using PDBx mmCIF files.